What up, Flavor family? It's Bobby, and Thanksgiving is here, and luckily for you, I have 5 recipes that will totally hook you up for your Thanksgiving dinner table and make you a rock star. Let's start with the granddaddy of them all, the Thanksgiving turkey. I have this dry brine turkey recipe that is butter basted and so delicious, and it's pretty much the easiest turkey recipe you can make. This is how you do it. Go ahead and chop up some fresh sage, along with rosemary and thyme. Add that to a bowl with a 1/4 cup of light brown sugar, and then go in with a 1/2 cup of kosher salt. Crack in some pepper, and then add the zest of 2 lemons. Rub the dry brine all over the turkey, and then stash it in the fridge overnight. The next day, rinse it in the sink to get all of that brine off. Pat the turkey dry, and then season the cavity with a big pinch of salt, and then go in with apples, onions, celery, and a cinnamon stick. Make my citrus herb butter, and then peel the skin back from the turkey breast and stuff that butter underneath the skin directly on the breast. Drizzle the bird with a good shot of oil, and then a liberal pinch of salt, and then line a roasting pan with a bunch of vegetables and put the turkey directly on that. Go ahead and put a probe thermometer in the dark meat in the leg, and then roast it in a 350-degree oven for 2 to 2.5 hours, or until the internal temperature hits 155 degrees Fahrenheit. Make sure you let the turkey rest a good hour after it's done, otherwise the juices will spill everywhere if you try to cut it open too soon. Number 2, I have homemade cranberry sauce, but I make it look like it came out of the can because my mom always used to love the stuff, that jiggly tower that came out of the can, so I fooled her with this homemade recipe that looks like a jiggly tower of goodness, and this is how you do it. Add a 1/4 cup each of pure cranberry juice and fresh orange juice to a small pot, along with 1 cup of honey. Bring that to a simmer, and then add 1 pound of fresh cranberries. Simmer that mixture for 15 minutes until the cranberries have burst and it's nice and thick and syrupy. You could either serve it like that, or if you want to go all out, take an empty, clean can, fill it up to the rim, refrigerate it overnight, then take the can off, and you have homemade canned cranberry sauce. Number 3, I have a cornbread recipe that has been a staple on my Thanksgiving table for years. This recipe is gluten-free, dairy-free, but I'll also put a link down below for a regular one. It's crispy on the bottom and tender and moist in the middle. This is how you make it. Add 1 1/3 cup of medium grind cornmeal to a bowl, and then go in with 3/4 of a cup of gluten-free all-purpose flour mix and 3 tablespoons of sugar. Add 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and a healthy pinch of salt. Give it a mix up and move it aside. For the wet team, add 1 1/3 cups of unsweetened almond milk to a bowl, along with the juice of 1 lemon to make it sour like buttermilk. Go in with 7 tablespoons of melted coconut oil, and then crack 2 eggs into the mixture. Give it a really good whisk up, and then pour the wet batter on top of the dry, and then use a spatula to mix everything very well. Next, go in with 1 cup of frozen corn kernels and 1 4-ounce can of Mexican green chilies that are drained. Give it 1 more good mix, and then grab your cast iron pan from the preheating oven, pour 1 tablespoon of coconut oil and melt it all around, and then add your batter to the pan and smooth it out to 1 even layer. Chuck that baby back into the oven and bake it for about 30 to 35 minutes. Number 4, I have this roasted Brussels sprouts and squash recipe that is definitely not your mama's boiled Brussels sprouts that made the entire house smell like a wet fart. These are roasted with a crispy bacon fat vinaigrette that is unbelievable. Check it out. Carefully halve a couple of delicata squash. Scoop the seeds out using a spoon, and then cut them into 1/4 inch thick half moons. Cut 1.5 pounds of Brussels sprouts in half, and then add them to a bowl. Season the squash and the sprouts with a good shot of oil, a generous pinch of salt, and a few cracks of black pepper. Spill those guys out onto a hot baking sheet and bake in the oven separately for about 25 to 30 minutes. For the crispy bacon vinaigrette, cook 1/2 pound of bacon until most of the fat has been rendered out and the bacon is nice and crispy. Then add some fresh red onions that are finely chopped, a couple tablespoons of walnuts that are chopped, a few cloves of garlic that are finely minced, and cook that for a couple minutes. To round out the vinaigrette, go in with red wine vinegar, some maple syrup for sweetness, and 1 teaspoon of whole grain mustard. Grab those roasted and toasted veggies from the oven and add them to a clean bowl, along with some freshly chopped parsley, and then pour that warm bacon fat vinaigrette all over the vegetables and toss it well to combine. and it's even better when everything is hot. And number 5, I have a roasted pumpkin soup recipe that is so easy to make. It has some sage, some ginger, some maple syrup, and some sausage, so you're gonna love it. This is how you make it. Cook some Italian sausage in the bottom of a pot, and then go in with some onions, carrots, and celery. Cook for a few minutes, and then go in with fresh garlic, grated ginger, and then deglaze the bottom of the pan with a couple teaspoons of apple cider vinegar. Carefully cut a sweet pumpkin in half, scoop out the seeds, and then season the inside with a good shot of olive oil, some salt and pepper, and then roast it in the oven for about 1 hour. Scoop all that caramelized pumpkin out and add it to the soup pot along with freshly chopped sage and a bunch of low sodium vegetable stock. Add some maple syrup for sweetness and then boil the soup for about 30 to 40 minutes. Blend up the soup until it's smooth and creamy, and to serve, garnish with some pumpkin seeds and a fried sage leaf. So there it is, you guys. 5 Thanksgiving recipes that are delicious, easy to make, and I want to see on your Thanksgiving table. If you have any questions, just leave a comment below. Tag me on social media when you make my recipes. Happy Thanksgiving. I'll see you soon.